Hi, I'm Gunner. I never thought I'd be the kind of kid who had to stand up to his own father, but I guess life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. My dad, Frank, had always been what you'd call intense. Mom said he had a short fuse, but that was putting it mildly. Gunner, have you finished your math homework? Mom asked, setting down a plate of spaghetti in front of me. Her voice was always soft, cautious, especially when Dad was home. Almost done. Just have a few more problems, I replied, twirling pasta around my fork. Dad lowered his newspaper. Almost isn't good enough. What do we talk about, son? Excellence in everything. I mumbled the family motto he'd drilled into me since kindergarten. I can't hear you when you mumble, Dad said, his knuckles whitening around his glass. Mom jumped in quickly. Frank, he's maintaining a 3.8 GPA. That's excellent by any standard. I didn't ask for your input, Diane. His tone made both of us flinch. Later that evening, my best friend Marco called while I was finishing homework. Dude, are you coming to Tyler's thing this weekend? Marco asked, his voice carrying that perpetual chill vibe that made him so easy to be around. I don't know, man. Dad's been in one of his moods all week. Again? What's his problem this time? Who knows? My existence, probably, I said, trying to keep my voice down. Marco sighed. Your dad needs to chill. My mom says, hold up, I whispered, hearing heavy footsteps approaching my door. Gotta go. Dad pushed my door open without knocking. Who are you talking to at this hour? Just Marco, about a study group. The lie came automatically. He crossed his arms. You know the rules. No calls after 9 p.m. on school nights. Dad, it's literally 9:05. His eyes narrowed. Don't get smart with me. I'm not getting smart. I'm stating a fact. There's a difference. Something in his face changed, that dangerous shift I'd learned to recognize but couldn't always avoid. Hand over the phone, now. Dad, come on, this is ridiculous. Ridiculous? His voice boomed through the house. I'll show you ridiculous. What happened next plays in my mind in slow motion. Dad's face turned crimson. He stormed out, then returned with something in his hand, a hammer. Before I could react, he was swinging at my bedroom door hinges, metal shrieking as they bent and broke. Dad, stop! I shouted, backing away. The door crashed to the floor. Mom appeared in the hallway, hands covering her mouth. Frank, please, she cried. He ignored her, advancing toward me. You want to talk back? You think you're the man of this house? I backed up until I hit my window. I didn't say that. His hand shot out, gripping my shoulders, shoving me hard against the glass. I heard it crack behind me. Frank! Mom screamed. You're hurting him! My Aunt Rachel appeared behind Mom, phone in hand. I'm calling 911 if you don't back away from him right now. Dad froze, looking from me to Rachel, then at his own hands like they belonged to someone else. He stepped back slowly. This isn't over, he whispered, before walking out. I slid down the wall, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might break through my chest. Rachel knelt beside me. Are you okay? I wasn't, not even close, but I knew one thing for certain. This would never happen again. He actually put his hands on you? Mrs. Winters, our school counselor, leaned forward in her chair, her brow furrowed with concern. I shifted uncomfortably. Yeah, it wasn't the first time he's yelled or broken stuff, but it was the first time he actually, Has your mother contacted authorities? I shook my head. Mom's scared. She keeps saying it was a one-time thing, that he's under stress at work. Mrs. Winters removed her glasses, polishing them methodically. Gunner, this is serious. What your father did constitutes assault. I know that, I said, staring at my hands. My Aunt Rachel wants me to stay with her for a while, but Mom says it'll just make things worse. Would you be comfortable talking to Officer Reyes? She's our school resource officer. I hesitated. Will my dad find out? Eventually, yes. But your safety comes first. Later that day, Marco cornered me by my locker. Dude, what happened last night? You just disappeared. I glanced around to make sure no one was listening. My dad lost it, completely lost it. Marco's perpetually relaxed demeanor vanished. What did he do? Smashed my bedroom door off the hinges, then shoved me against my window, hard enough to crack the glass. What the? Are you serious? Marco's eyes widened. That's messed up, G. Did you tell anyone? Just talked to Mrs. Winters. Good. My cousin went through something similar with his stepdad. You can't mess around with this stuff. I closed my locker. My Aunt Rachel wants me to stay with her. Then do it. It's not that simple. My mom... Your mom what? It was Ellie, my cousin from Mom's side. She'd overheard us. I quickly filled her in. Her expression hardened with each word. Aunt Diane needs to wake up, Ellie said firmly. Uncle Frank's always been a bully, but this is different. My mom says, no offense, Gunner, but your mom's in denial. Remember Thanksgiving 2 years ago, when Uncle Frank threw the gravy boat at the wall? Marco whistled low. Your family gatherings sound intense. My dad had just lost his promotion, I said weakly. Stop making excuses for him, Ellie snapped. That's what Aunt Diane does, and look where it's gotten you both. What am I supposed to do? He's my dad. He's also breaking the law, a new voice joined in. It was Mrs. Winters with Officer Reyes. Officer Reyes nodded at us. Gunner, can we talk? After explaining everything to Officer Reyes, she asked, do you have photos of the damage? The door, the window, any marks on you? My Aunt Rachel took pictures, I admitted. She said we might need them someday. Smart woman, Officer Reyes said. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to contact Child Protective Services and we'll need to interview your mother and aunt. My dad will freak out. That's exactly why we need to act now, she replied firmly. This pattern needs to stop. He'll say I'm lying, that I'm exaggerating. Ellie squeezed my shoulder. Then we'll all tell the truth. You're not alone in this, Gunner. Marco nodded. I heard everything on the phone before you hung up. I'll back you up. For the first time since that night, I felt something other than fear, something that felt dangerously close to hope. You had no right to involve the police, Dad shouted across our living room 3 days later. CPS had requested a family meeting with a social worker present. Miss Galloway, the social worker, held up her hand. Mr. Sullivan, please lower your voice. This is my house. Dad's face was that dangerous shade of red again. Frank, please, Mom pleaded. Let's just hear them out. Aunt Rachel sat beside me on the couch. Your house doesn't give you the right to assault your son. Dad pointed at her. You put him up to this, didn't you? Always trying to turn my family against me. Nobody turned anybody against you, I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. You did that yourself when you knocked my door down and put your hands on me. You were being disrespectful. You needed discipline, Miss Galloway interjected. Mr. Sullivan, destroying property and physical intimidation are not appropriate disciplinary methods. Dad turned to Mom. Are you going to sit there and let these people tell us how to raise our son? Mom looked at her hands. Frank, you crossed a line. You scared me that night. Oh, so now you're afraid of me too? Dad's voice dripped with sarcasm. After everything I've done for this family? Like what? I asked, anger finally overtaking fear. Like making Mom walk on eggshells? Like making me afraid to bring friends over because you might explode over nothing? You ungrateful little... Mr. Sullivan, Miss Galloway warned. Dad ignored her. After everything I've sacrificed, I've worked 60-hour weeks to give you a good life, and this is how you repay me? By humiliating me in front of strangers? This isn't about humiliation, Aunt Rachel said. It's about Gunner's safety. I would never seriously hurt my son, Dad insisted, his voice dropping to a dangerous level. But you did hurt me, I replied. And you've been hurting Mom for years, just not with your hands. You have no idea what you're talking about. I've lived in this house my entire life. I know exactly what I'm talking about. Dad suddenly switched tactics, his voice softening. Gunner, son, I lost my temper. I apologize for that. But this, involving authorities, this is an overreaction. No, it's not, I said firmly. And I don't accept your apology because you don't mean it. You're just saying what you think will make this go away. Son, please. I'm not your son right now. I'm the kid you shoved against a window because I dared to point out it was only 5 minutes past 9. This is ridiculous, Dad muttered, then lunged toward me. Tell them you exaggerated. Officer Reyes, who had been standing quietly by the door, stepped forward as Aunt Rachel moved in front of me. Mr. Sullivan, back away now, Officer Reyes commanded. Dad froze, then pointed at me, his voice a hiss. You'll regret this. When you're sleeping in some foster home instead of your comfortable bed, you'll wish you'd kept your mouth shut. That was all Officer Reyes needed. Frank Sullivan, you're under arrest for intimidating a witness. As they led my father out in handcuffs, his eyes locked with mine. I didn't look away. The restraining order has been approved, my mother's attorney, Miss Bennett, explained as we sat in her office 2 weeks later. Your father cannot come within 500 feet of either of you for the next year. Mom nodded, her face unreadable. Since Dad's arrest, she'd been different, quieter, but somehow stronger. What about the criminal charges? Aunt Rachel asked. He's facing charges of domestic violence, child endangerment, and witness intimidation, Miss Bennett explained. The DA is offering a plea deal that includes mandatory anger management and family therapy. I'm not doing family therapy with him, I said immediately. Miss Bennett nodded. That would be your choice, Gunner. You're old enough that the court will respect your wishes. What happens to our house? Mom asked quietly. Since you're filing for divorce, you can request exclusive use of the marital home while proceedings are ongoing. Later that day, Marco and Ellie came over to help me reinstall a new bedroom door. Aunt Rachel had bought it as a symbol of our fresh start. How are you holding up? Ellie asked, holding the door steady while Marco aligned the hinges. Better than I expected, I admitted. It's quieter without him here. Your mom seems different, Marco observed. Mom had spent the morning planting flowers in the front yard, something Dad had always dismissed as a waste of time and money. Yeah, she's starting to remember who she was before Dad took over everything. The doorbell rang. Mom answered it, and I heard a familiar voice that made my stomach clench. I just want 5 minutes with my son, Dad said. I moved to the hallway, staying out of sight but within earshot. Frank, you can't be here, Mom said firmly. The restraining order. To hell with the restraining order. This is still my house. No, it's not, Mom replied, her voice stronger than I'd heard it in years. Not anymore. I stepped into view, Marco and Ellie flanking me. You need to leave, I told him. Dad's expression softened when he saw me. Gunner, son, this has gone far enough. I've apologized. I'm getting help. What more do you want? I want you to respect boundaries for once in your life, I replied, starting with that restraining order. You can't possibly want this, he gestured between us. We're family. Family doesn't terrorize each other, I said. Family doesn't make you afraid in your own home. I've already called the police, Mom added. They're on their way. Dad's facade cracked. This isn't over, Diane. When this restraining order expires, we'll get another one, I finished for him, and another one after that if we need to. You ungrateful, Officer Reyes pulled up in front of our house, lights flashing. You should go, Mr. Sullivan, Ellie said coldly. Unless you want to add violating a restraining order to your charges. Dad looked at each of us, then backed away slowly. This family is falling apart without me. You'll see. No, Mom replied. We're finally healing. After he left, we finished installing my new door, complete with a lock. That night, Mom, Aunt Rachel, Ellie, Marco, and I sat around our dining table, eating pizza, and actually laughing for the first time in what felt like forever. To new beginnings, Aunt Rachel raised her glass of soda. And to standing up for ourselves, Mom added, surprising me. Later, as Marco was leaving, he asked, Do you think your dad will ever change? I shrugged. Maybe, maybe not, but I've changed. I won't let anyone treat me like that again. Good, he said simply. As I closed and locked my new bedroom door that night, I felt something I hadn't experienced in my own home for years, safety. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time, it felt like we were heading in the right direction. Have you ever had to stand up to someone who was supposed to protect you? Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is refuse to accept the unacceptable, especially when it comes from family.